In this video, I want to show you how to use external resources like CSS files and front-end JavaScript files. What is most commonly done is using CDN resources, like if you need to include jQuery, then including that from a CDN, and that is a simple matter of including that inside of your layout file. The layout file gets used to build every single view. You will have noticed that if you look in a view file, it doesn't actually include the important stuff to build a page like the HTML tag and the head tag, because inside of your head tag is where you would put the CSS and JavaScript. So the way that the Express Handlebars engine works is that it will use this layout handlebars file by default to build out the page. This is what it looks like when it gets built out. But this isn't exactly what we want to do. We can keep the local style sheet. Now, here you'll see the href actually points to /stylesheets/style.css, and that actually refers to the public folder. Anything inside of the public folder is going to get served up as a static resource. As you can see in the app.js file, it uses the Express static middleware, which will set the public folder in your project directory to be where static resources are served from. Static resources in this case doesn't necessarily mean static as in not moving, because you can use JavaScript on the front end to make things move or to have some sort of interaction layer for the user. What static means in this case is not generated. All of the view files actually get generated by the server, so you can include variables and loops over objects from the server. What we want to do is we want to include some of these resources inside of our layout file. That would include the default style sheet, which is right here. You can change this, you can remove it. What we're going to be doing is including the starter template from Bootstrap, and that is going to come with a number of different things. The Bootstrap style sheet, it is going to come with some JavaScript files, jQuery, Popper, and the Bootstrap JavaScript. So let's go ahead and include that. Inside of our layout file, you can actually see the body tag. That is a raw tag because it's got 3 curly braces rather than just the standard 2. And what that means is anything that comes from a view file is going to end up in that section. So it's going to replace that tag with whatever comes from the view section. What I've done is I've already copied the starter template from Bootstrap. I'm going to paste that in, and it comes with some basic HTML. I'm going to just tidy this up a little bit. Yeah, there we go. So we've got the Bootstrap style, and that is inside of the head tag. You can see it's referenced from the Bootstrap CDN. And then down the bottom, it's actually got some script tags. Now, this is actually the slim version of JavaScript, so we're going to upgrade that. But it also includes the Popper.js file and the Bootstrap JavaScript file as well. The only thing it doesn't include here is the body tag. We just deleted that. So we're going to need to put that back. As I said, 3 curly braces rather than just 2, and inside of that it's going to have body. The other part we want to change is the title, and that gets pulled in from the router, the route controller, so that when the page is rendered, you can set the title there and it will change inside of the layout file. The other thing that I would recommend doing, it's not necessary, but it does help with identifying different pages, is to actually set a class on the body of your page and have an optional tag in here called body class. Now, what that is going to do is give you the ability to set a body class on the page, which means that if you've got styles that only need to apply to one page, you can do that right here. As an example, inside of your styles file, if you had a page called About, you would do About here, and then because it's a child of that, everything is a child of the body, any selector that you put in here is going to be more powerful than a standard selector. So as an example, if you had an H1 tag called heading, out here the color will be blue. But if you did that same selector underneath a second class, so anything on the About page, we're actually going to make the color red. I'll come back to that in a minute, but we've effectively now included the Bootstrap starter template. Last thing that we need to do here is actually include the style sheet from our static resources folder, because otherwise it's just going to be using Bootstrap styles and it's going to ignore anything that we put in that folder. So I've selected it from this right here. Doesn't need this integrity file, that's just if you're using resources from another server, and it doesn't need the cross origin because it's also not loading it from another server. Loading it locally, hence just the slash, and is loading it from the public directory because that's what's set in app.js. So let's save that, let's give it a run. And let's open that up in the browser to see if it works for us now. It does. There we go. So we have lost some of our styles because they are being overwritten by Bootstrap. But if we inspect this now, we should see, there it is. It's loading that Bootstrap style. Now, if we went to the About page, we didn't actually define a body class in the controller. So we're going to come back into our project under About. We're also going to set a body class and set it to About. To demonstrate, I'm also going to put an H1 back on the main page. I'm going to kill the app and start it again, and then go back to Chrome, so that now our body has a class of About. Our main page does not have a class, but it also has that title there back now. Lastly, I think the selector that I picked actually had, it does an extra class on it. So I'm going to need to add that in. H1 class heading. Same for the About page. H1 class heading. Save my file. Because they're the handlebars templates, I don't need to restart the server. And there we go. On the home page, it's blue, but when we go to the About page, it's red, because we said specifically on the About page, make the heading red. Lastly, we want to include some JavaScript file that gets run on the front end. What we can do is just inside this JavaScript file, we can say, create a file called scripts, and then inside that, we're going to say document ready and then we're going to run a function which is going to log something to the console. Save that, and I'm going to also include that new script that we've created inside of our layout file. I want it to run after all of the Bootstrap stuff, so I'm going to put that in there. JavaScript, that's the name of the folder inside of the public folder. Then scripts.js. You are not limited to doing just one script as well. You can actually include multiple scripts. You could, if you also just had some scripts that was only happening on your About page, you would include this script at the very bottom of your About view. That way, it's included in the About view on the About page, but not on every other page. It's a nice little way of splitting up your code to make sure that it loads pages fast for everyone. Let's have a look. Let's see if it worked. Go to the console, and hey, we've got a success message. It's in being included right here, and then run as the page is loaded. Hopefully that gives you a good idea on how to include different static resources, CSS, JavaScript. The other thing that I didn't show in this video is how to include images, but that is exactly the same deal. If you wanted to include an image, logo files, background images, all that sort of thing, you can stick it in the images folder and then include it from there.